If you haven't seen it already, I will link down below. I just did a video on how we are establishing some good sleep habits with our newborn. In a nutshell, I elaborate a lot more in that video. You know, my husband and I want to have the bedroom as like our own space for many reasons. I don't think that co-sleeping is wrong. When it's done safely, like there are these horror stories you hear of people, you know, rolling over on their child, suffocating them or whatever, but I think it can be done safely if, you know, if you take proper precautions. And I know a lot of people that do it and they love it, and I think that's totally awesome. But for us, it's not our thing. Except I do make one exception. I do sometimes bed share with my baby to nap in the afternoon sometimes, but that's the only time I do it. But the rest of the time, baby sleeps either in bassinet or in crib. Oh boy, vaccinations, here we go. What I think about vaccinations is this. I really think that vaccinating your children is very important, and it is the socially responsible thing to do. We have eradicated so many diseases because of vaccination, and for that reason, I think that vaccinating your kids is the most responsible thing you can do. However, I do see the other side of the coin, that there could be, you know, there haven't been enough studies done showing how when you give multiple vaccines at a time on a very small child, how that affects their immune system. There have been lots of studies, you know, by the big pharma companies themselves, and some independent studies showing how individual vaccines are very safe, and I do think that that's true. They have been proven to be very safe. They don't cause autism, like, you know, there have been studies debunking all of those myths. But I think there is some reason to be a little cautious about the vaccine schedule that the CDC recommends. You know, at some point, children are given up to, you know, 5 to 10 in one day. Now, it's rare to have that many, but, you know, it is common to have like 5 vaccines in one day. And I do question that. I have heard stories of people's children who have had some really adverse reactions to that. And, you know, I think that we should question that a little bit, because we are injecting this stuff straight into the children's bloodstream. And, you know, especially with a young infant, like, they have an immature immune system, and, you know, it takes a while for them to build, you know, for their immune system to get strong enough to handle a lot of this stuff. So, the way we do it is we do a spread out vaccine schedule, and it's one of the ones in the Dr. Sears vaccine book. And we basically do all of the vaccines, but instead of getting, you know, 5, 6 in one day, we do a very maximum of 2 vaccines in one day or per month. So, especially in the first 6 months, we go in every single month just for a vaccine check-in, and baby gets 1 or 2 vaccines each time, instead of just doing it at, you know, 2 months, 6 months, you know, and having big doses all at once. So that's how we do it, because I do think that it's legitimate to question how many we give at one time. So that's been working really well with us. My son is thriving. He's showing no signs of autism or neurological damage or vaccine injury, anything like that. He's a really smart kid, and he is really healthy. He has no health issues at all. So, like, I really think that, you know, it is safe to give your kids vaccines, but, you know, the way we're doing it, it seems to be going really well with him, and we'll be doing the same with our daughter. All right, medicating children. I think that they are, I mean, I'm not sure if they're talking about like giving Tylenol, like that kind of thing. I mean, I think it's okay to give your kids Tylenol in moderation. It can, you know, I don't think we should be dependent on giving our kids medication for every little thing. I think we should try the natural options first, but if you need to, give your kid Tylenol if you need to. But if they're talking more about like ADHD, like, you know, Ritalin, that kind of thing, same with any medication. It should not be a first resort. I do think that we are an overly medicated society, and I do think that there are a lot of really important natural things that need to be done first especially with things like diet. I have heard so many stories of kids with behavior issues that totally are turned around by switching to a more whole foods type diet and avoiding sugar, food dyes, that kind of thing. There are direct correlations with high consumption of, the food dyes and sugars and processed foods that lead to behavior issues, and that they just go away when the diet is changed. And even with autism, they've done, there have been a lot of people who have had huge leaps and bounds with their autistic children just by changing their diet. So I really think that that is something that should be done first. However, I understand that, if you've tried those things and you're still having issues that need to be dealt with, I do think it's okay to use some medication to, even if it's a low dose, or even if it's just in that transition, just so you can, get to that place. I do think that it is okay to use now and then. Cloth versus disposable. I probably will be in the future in my cloth diaper series be doing a video on why it is a great idea to cloth diaper. However, we don't do it exclusively. I will put that disclaimer in. But the two main reasons we cloth diaper are: one, environmental. The average baby between birth and potty training goes through 5,000 diapers. And I'll just let you imagine in your head how many diapers that is in the landfill with how many babies there are over the years. I mean, it's mind-boggling to me, and I think that it's wrong. I'm just going to put that out there. Creating that much waste, it's horrifying to me. And reason number two, we do it for economic reasons. Diapers are freaking expensive and we use pre-folds and covers. And we have some other stuff that we've been gifted as well, but that's our main cloth diapering system, and it is extremely affordable. I mean, we're talking maybe a couple $100s for cloth diapers that you can use over and over and over for multiple children versus several $1,000s on disposables for each child. It makes total economic sense to cloth diaper. So that's the other reason we do it. That said, we do keep disposables around and we do use them now and then. Sometimes all the cloth diapers are dirty and in a pinch you use a disposable. Sometimes, like when we're going out, we're in a hurry, I put a disposable on, it's easier to pack them into the diaper bag. We're traveling, I'll use disposables, that kind of thing. But the vast majority of the time, definitely use cloth diapers. Okay, cry it out. So sleep stuff. Basically go check out the sleep video I just made. That's my whole view on, on how to sleep train a child. I definitely am not a fan of leaving the child to just completely cry it out all night long. I mean, yes, it may be effective, but it's because you've broken their little spirit, I do think that is a part of attachment parenting that I am on board with. I do think that the child needs to feel secure and that when they need comfort, you are there. However, I also think that it is important for children to learn how to connect their own sleep cycles on their own without needing your help to do it. And I do think it is okay to let them cry for a few minutes. We'll let our kids cry for a maximum 10 minutes, and we figure if they really do need something, at that point we'll go in, even just give them a hug, drink of water, and leave again. If you watch some of my pregnancy vlogs, I talked about how we were having some sleep difficulties in the last few months with my 2-year-old, with the transition to having a new baby. There was some crying it out that we needed to do, but like I said, we did no more than 10 minutes. We were not just letting him cry all night long. But for the most part, I really don't think that crying it out is necessary in sleep training. In just following babies' natural rhythms, you can help encourage them to sleep through the night without even having to do any crying it out. So happy medium on that front as well. Baby leash. Honestly, I really don't have any issue with baby leashes. I feel like the people who are most judgmental about it are people who have never had toddlers before. People who have never had kids before. Honestly, it's like the safest thing sometimes when you have a toddler who doesn't understand the boundary yet of not running away from you. It is the safest thing to, if they're going to freak out sitting in a stroller but they still want to walk, in a crowded place, like that might be the safest option, is to have them on the leash. It gives them a little bit of freedom, but it keeps them from running away from you and you losing them. So, and honestly, like when I was a nanny for twins, like I remember going out for walks with them when they were quite small, and that was a great way, especially with twins, because like they would want to run in 2 different directions, but it kept them close to me. They have these little leashes that have like animal backpacks now, and you know, where they can like put something like a little snack inside or something. And I remember they actually enjoyed them. Like when we put on the baby leashes, like that meant that we called them their backpacks. You don't have to call them a leash. They got excited about it. They wanted to put them on because that meant we were going outside and doing something fun. So yeah, definitely have no issues with the baby leash. Adoption. I don't know why adoption is a controversial thing. I really don't think it is. I think adoption is a beautiful, wonderful thing, and I've known some incredible families who have adopted some kids and done an amazing job with them. Like I said, you know, with the pro-life, pro-choice thing, I really think that adoption is you know, definitely should be a first option if this is just like an unplanned pregnancy, you can't support the child. I really think that that is an awesome option. So, and my husband and I had some infertility struggles. You can check out our videos about that as well. But, you know, at the time, there was a point where we thought we may never have our own biological children, and we would be willing to adopt. There are so many kids out there who need loving, caring families, and so I think adoption is a wonderful thing. All right, the next one's on schooling, homeschooling, public, private, charter schooling. Oh boy. I had a public school education, and it was a fantastic education. I actually went to an alternative elementary school within the public school system, and it was a school that didn't do grades, and they had first, second, and third grade all together in one classroom, and you would stay with that same teacher for those 3 years, and then you would do 4th, 5th, and 6th grade together, you know, with the same teacher for 3 years. And like, you know, first, second, and third graders would all be in one class together, and you know, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders all together in one class. And you know, it was definitely, you know, approaching education from maybe a little more holistic standpoint. There was, you know, some traditional stuff that was done in there as well, but there were never rows of desks. You know, we always sat at grouped tables. I remember when I was in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, we had our teacher base our entire classroom on the multiple intelligences. So we would do like a unit on something. Like I remember we did like an airplane unit, and we would learn all about airplanes and like aerodynamics. We would learn, you know, from at the time it was 7 intelligences back in the 90s when I was in school. And so we would learn about them from all those 7 intelligences. And anyway, so it was just very holistic approach. It worked so wonderfully for me. Big fan. But you know, and some kids, just regular public school is great. For our kids, we probably will do public school. We live in a really good school district, highly rated, which is one of the reasons we moved to the house that we moved to, because it was in a great school district. However, I sometimes, you know, the thought of homeschooling sometimes crosses my mind, especially when there are like these school shootings. I actually did a video talking about school shootings as well. I'll link that below. But yeah, sometimes just thinking about the safety of my kids in public school, it freaks me out a little, especially when these things happen. And I think it's really sad that we live in a world where that even happens. You know, like it feels like it's a trend now. You hear about these school shootings, like it seems like every few months there's another one, and it really does scare me. And granted, I know that it's really unlikely that your kid will happen to be at one of the schools where that happens and that will happen to be a victim of it. But like, not gonna lie, whenever that happens, homeschooling crosses my mind. And I also like the idea of, you know, with homeschooling you can have kids go at their own pace. Learning wise, it's not just everybody, all these different ability levels learning the exact same thing at the exact same time. That was actually one thing I really enjoyed about my alternative school, was it was very much, you know, being challenged at your own pace kind of thing. And so that would be another advantage of homeschooling, and I suppose charter schools too. Charter schools are kind of like the school that I went to. And I do wonder sometimes, like my son, objectively, like he is pretty advanced with his like language skills and that kind of thing. Like he's 2 and he's on the verge of reading right now. He knows his alphabet inside and out. He reads letters. He's starting to get to the point where he has sight words. And he can count to like 150 and he just turned 2. So like for his sake, like I just wonder if putting him in regular public school, like if he would be challenged enough. I just want him to be, you know, really well challenged throughout his schooling experience. And so for that reason, I wondered, oh, maybe we should homeschool him. But then again, there are programs for, you know, there are like challenge programs, that kind of thing as well, that are in the public school system. So anyway, I think that all forms of schooling can be done really well. So yeah, I think that, you know, homeschooling can be done really well too. And I think that it can also be done not so well too. I think that there are some kids that suffer from not learning the things that they need to learn. But, you know, for the vast majority of the people that I know that homeschool, they do a really good job. And I do think that kids who are homeschooled should be able to meet the same standards that kids who go through public school meet. I think that that should be a requirement of kids that are homeschooled. So, but other than that, I think all those kinds of schooling can be done well. You just have to figure out what works best for your child, your family, that kind of thing. All right, last hot button topic here, circumcision. This, I feel pretty strongly about this one, but I'm definitely also not like crazy gung-ho about it either, so middle ground on this one. I definitely think that circumcision is not necessary. You think about it, it's really kind of a strange practice. Like, why are we cutting off pieces of our sons' penises? Like, honestly, it's kind of strange that it's a religious thing too, but you know, if that's your religious belief, then, you know, then that's that. But honestly, I think that's kind of a strange way to have a covenant with God too. Like, and I'm saying this as a Christian too, so anyway, I think that it is not necessary, and I think that it is something that we should work towards doing less in our culture. I believe that God, evolution, all that came together in a way that, you know, all of the parts of our bodies are there for a reason. And foreskin included, there is a reason that it's there. All animals have foreskins, and like, why are we the one species that is changing that? I'm not sure. I once watched some circumcisions done to baby boys on YouTube, and it was kind of horrifying to me. Like, I'm not gonna lie. It's, you know, babies do feel the pain, even when they numb them. It's true that they're not going to remember it, but at the same time, it is, to me, it does seem a little barbaric. However, I am not one of these people who is like, circumcision is going to, you know, like completely ruin a boy's life for the rest of his life. Like, I'm not one of those people. I know lots of guys who are circumcised, they're fine. I'm assuming their sex lives are fine. Like, I feel like it's one of those things, like, it's probably not, you know, gonna hurt them for the rest of their lives, but it's also really not necessary. So, you know, I really think that it's something that, you know, if you're thinking about whether you should circumcise or not, really do your research. The vast majority of cultures around the world don't do it, and you know, except for a few for religious reasons. We should probably be avoiding circumcision and moving our culture in that direction. But like I said, I don't think that it's like the end of the world if somebody chooses to circumcise. But I definitely think that people shouldn't do it just so the son can look like the dad. Sorry, that's a really dumb reason. And just because that's what has been done before. That's a really dumb reason too. We should be thinking about why are, you know, if you're going to circumcise, why are you doing it? Definitely should be a decision that's made with a lot of thought. That's what I think about that topic. So that's it, you guys. Whew. thanks for bearing with me with that one, you guys. Like, I definitely feel like there's some touchy stuff in there, but I also think that it's really important to have conversations about these things. So let's start the conversation. Leave a comment below what you think about this stuff. And yeah, if you guys have a YouTube channel and you want to do this tag, I would love to see your video. Be sure to link, if you do it, be sure to link your video in the comments down below. I don't think I'm going to tag anybody specifically in this one just because I feel like, you know, it is controversial, and if you want to do it, then great, and if you don't, then I don't want to like pressure anybody to do it. Hope you guys found this to be interesting. Thanks so much for watching, and give this a thumbs up if you like this video, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.